Okay, so this came up in my YouTube recommendeds this morning. This is another G-Bay video. I'm a big G-Bay fan now. And Josh Drive Hayes. Dude, I've been finding a bunch of new great YouTubers that like don't normally make WoW content that are now. Anyway, G-Bay, the League of Legends to WoW pipeline. What League players play WoW? Obviously, there was like Tyler One and OnlyFangs. Rav is the big one I know. I know Double Lift dabbles in WoW and League. Anyway, I'm not sure if there's more. Oh, Medios as well. Double Lift, Medios, Rav, Barney. I didn't know Barney played League. Anyway, let's watch the video.
Recently, I've noticed a fascinating trend going on in the world of PC gaming. All the League of Legends players have started playing WoW. We're talking streamers, YouTubers, esports pros. I myself have fallen down this pipeline in recent months to a point where I'm dangerously close to transitioning into just becoming a full-time WoW creator. And my experience falling down this rabbit hole has got me asking lately, why? Why do League players keep finding themselves interested in WoW? Where does this trend come from, and why does this pipeline only seem to go one way?
Well, not really. It went the other way for a long time. So WoW was like the top game on Twitch in 2012, 2011. And then League came out and all the WoW PvPers quit for League. And then League became the biggest esport out of nowhere and like killed arenas. So, I mean, now we're in 2026 and maybe we have some people going the other way. But like it was pretty brutal. It was pretty brutal.
I think the answer has a lot to do with a certain kind of soul sickness people have been feeling with modern multiplayer games lately, so we're gonna dive deep on all that in this video. But before we jump in, let's start off by talking about today's sponsor, Opera GX. Opera GX, of course, is the premier upgrade from default browsers, recently partnering with Riot to become the ultimate browser for League esports events. Not only does their browser host many great features, such as an integrated ad blocker preventing you from having to deal with annoying pop-ups that slow down web pages, but they have also recently launched a new feature, the Riot Corner, through their GX mods. GX mods allow you to customize the background music, keyboard sounds, color, themes,
guys, once in the chat if you're an Opera user. How many people are on this Opera tech?
And now if you go to the GX store to check out the latest options available, you will find all kinds of official League of Legends mods. Download and install any one of these and you'll gain access to the Riot Corner, where you can follow all major League esports events.
I'm a Chrome user personally, but I get made fun of for that.
It's also super quick and easy
that Chrome sucks. I don't know.
Whatever browser you're currently using through their quick import tool to gain access to all of this and more. Make sure to install Opera GX using the link in the video description or pinned comment to automatically get the official League of Legends mod, unlock bonus content and features exclusive to Opera GX, and dominate the Rift with the official Riot Corner. Riot Corner will keep evolving with future events, introducing new exciting updates and features to enhance your League of Legends esports experience even further. Thank you once again to Opera GX for sponsoring the channel. But now, back to the video. So what exactly am I talking about here? The League of Legends to WoW pipeline. What is that? Well, over the past half decade or so, there have been a significant number of figureheads in the League scene crossing communities to at least try out World of Warcraft. We've had all kinds of content creators like Tyler One, Rav, and Uber Danger, who've all made various series in classic WoW. There have also been plenty of League pros dipping their toes into the game. We famously had Wonder pick up a fine when he was caught playing Classic a few years back, I think on an LEC broadcast, where his esports team then issued a statement saying, "Thanks, Riot, we finally have a justifiable reason to uninstall this from his PC." Perhaps the biggest example of this, though, was none other than the YouTuber formerly known as Kiori, where after being a prolific creator in the League scene for years, she then went on to create arguably the most celebrated and well-known WoW series on all of YouTube. And as I said in the intro, I have been sucked down this pipeline as well.
I don't know Barney was a leaguer. And Uber Danger, dude, the League of Legends content creators are insanely good. Rav, Uber Danger, and Barney arguably have the 3 best WoW series out there, and they all came from League? Are you kidding me? Those are probably am I trolling you? Those are probably the best 3 WoW series out there. Barney, Uber Danger, Rav, right? Those have to be the top 3. And they all came, 3 for 3 came from League. I never thought about this. That's crazy, bro.
After playing League for over a decade, recently I've been making a bunch of videos on the Warcraft universe. And don't worry, I have seen all of your comments. I'm about to do a full 1 to 60 series in Classic Era on my Warrior, probably making more content about WoW once that's done, because I really like this game. On the surface, it might make sense that there is some cross-pollination between these communities, because League of Legends and WoW do share plenty of qualities. After all, these two are both live service games with an emphasis on quick, high-stakes multiplayer action, each becoming super popular in the 2000s and early 2010s. They both have communities that also love to complain about the developers that run their respective titles, and both of these games even have origins in what might be the greatest PC game of all time, Warcraft 3. But I think the biggest similarity that these games have is that these are, in my opinion, two of the last great keyboard games on the market today. Generally, when I think about online multiplayer PC titles, I like to group most into one of two categories. You have your keyboard games and you have your mouse games. A mouse game, for example, would be something like a first-person shooter, where you might be using the keyboard to strafe through the map in Counter-Strike, but the primary action you're focused on is aiming and shooting with your mouse. That's the big goal, and where a player will put their focus if they're trying to improve their skill.
That's why it's so hard for WoW players to go play like Counter-Strike, because WoW is all about the keyboard. You barely use the mouse. I mean, you do, but like not nearly to the same degree. So when you spend years using the keyboard and then you go play a shooter, it's like, bruh.
Keyboard game, by comparison, would be any game that primarily focuses on using hotkeys instead. That would mean games like StarCraft, where you might use a mouse to highlight and move units around, but the majority of a player's focus should be on building a base, raising an army, as well as activating upgrades and skills, all of which are done through keybinds. You technically can use a mouse to click abilities and actions on the UI.
I would push back a little here. I would call an RTS, I mean, it's like an RTS, you're still click to moving the units, and like selecting, you can keep, I mean, I guess there's more keyboard, but like RTS is kind of interesting, right? It's an interesting genre. There's a lot of mouse in an RTS, like way more than an MMO. I guess I'll say that. It's a spectrum. An MMO uses way less mouse than an RTS, right?
But if you do that, the people who play these sorts of titles regularly will make fun of you and call you a clicker until you stop. Obviously, there are great titles and genres that exist in both of these two categories, and different people just prefer different types of games, but personally speaking, I love a good keyboard game. That was one of the reasons I'd always personally wanted to try out World of Warcraft, and one of the great selling points of WoW that I don't think Blizzard even realizes they have. Keyboard games, by and large, have been on a decline the past 2 decades or so, with MOBAs, RTS, and MMO communities always claiming that their genres are perpetually dying. Personally speaking, while I've played a lot of RTS and MOBA titles over the years, I had never played many tab-targeting MMOs, at least not since I got into Blade and Soul back when that game was big. The MMOs I've sunk most of my time into were actually more mouse-based, like RuneScape, and as I started playing WoW, I was frankly, a bit overwhelmed. The classic version of the game can feel overwhelming with all the item stats, abilities, and systems that you need to learn as a new player, while the retail version of the game is overwhelming for a whole host of other reasons that could fill a standalone video. I'm sure it was very painful for WoW players to watch my first steps into those games, because I was probably getting lost and doing all kinds of things wrong with how much I didn't know, but even so, I was still hooked. The great keybind gameplay here is unbelievably satisfying, and something that I genuinely feel addicted to. Seriously, be prepared for more WoW content. I kind of thought that this was the big reason that League players kept on trying WoW. Since there are only so many great keyboard games left, and WoW has been such a tentpole of the category for so long, League players were bound to find their way to Warcraft sooner or later. Except there's one problem with this. If it were just a matter of these both being two great keyboard games, there would probably have been an exodus of WoW creators moving to the League space too. To my knowledge, that's never really happened.
I mean, there was 2 prominent WoW streamers that did a League series last year that I can think of off the top of my head that really shook up the scene for a little bit. In the bronze elo, I can't believe this. Hello, okay. Yeah, guys, Peekaboo and myself went into the rift All right, after never venturing in there, and we climbed up from iron all the way to silver in record time. 72% win rate, the Out of Jungle.
This is a pipeline that appears to only go one way, meaning that WoW must have something that League lacks. And it wasn't until I started playing WoW, sinking tons of hours into the game myself, that I started to finally realize what it was that hooks so many of us. When you log in to World of Warcraft, you are always logging into a place and never a menu.
Yeah, I like that. That's why we like WoW. You log into the world of Warcraft.
There's this idea you may have heard before where people will say nowadays that we need more third places in the world. Everyone has a first place, their home, where they sit, relax, eat, sleep, and rest, spending the majority of their day. And most people also have a second place, either work or school, which serves as their primary reason for leaving home to go off and put effort towards something. But if all you ever do in life is shuttle yourself from home to work, back and forth, over and over, that's how you end up depressed. It's become a common understanding in recent years that people need a third place where they can go and spend time among their community in a new sort of setting to be healthy. That could be a gym where you go and get into the meditative trance of working out around others, or it could be a park or library where you relax and read a book in a social setting. But having those third places where you can decompress and let go of the stresses of constantly bouncing between work and recovery over and over, that's key to having a kind of fulfilling life. But here's
that wow, this is I didn't expect a philosophical turn here. This is really interesting. So for me, I work at home and work out at home. So I really have one place. I'm at home. Right? I'm literally at home always. And one of the things that I've been trying to do more often is get outside and go to the park with my son. And it's been really good on my mental. And I wonder if it's because it's a second place for me. I don't really have a third place yet. But maybe that's WoW. Maybe that third place is WoW. I don't know. But like, this has really got me thinking.
the thing, that's how so many online multiplayer games today operate. When I get into the cycle of grinding solo queue in League, I only ever get to experience one of two things: playing the game and sitting in menus. So much of my time in particular is spent sitting in menus. I'm setting my talents in menus, building item sets in menus, buying skins, unlocking champions, or doing anything that's not gameplay and just preparing for a match. That's all done in menus. Ironically, the better you get at this game, the more time you have to spend sitting in menus, with how long queue times can be at higher ratings. It gets to a point that these menus kind of become my first place, my home, where I am meant to recover from work. And work, the second place, that's obviously solo queue. What is solo queue if not work, after all? Solo queue is where I'm spending my time exerting effort and stressing out over getting a job done, either feeling joy when I succeed or depression when I fail. Solo queue is also like a job in that it is the primary reason I ever leave my first place to go out and exert effort towards goals that I want to achieve. But that's all I have, those two states of being. I'm either experiencing the work of playing the game or the recovery of finishing off a match and queuing up for another. There is no third place. World of Warcraft, by comparison, has shocked me in how much more excited I am to log into this game, because this whole universe is basically a third place. If I'm playing Classic, whether I want to run a dungeon or do some leveling or even just sell items at the auction house, I always need to be in a physical part of the world to do it, around other players, which kind of creates this sense of community the way that third places do.
Okay, this is really interesting as well, because so I'll talk to game devs from time to time when they're like making a new game, and this is one of the things that I tell them over and over. Maybe, and I might be wrong here. This might just be a WoW player dumb take or something, but menus suck. I would much rather log in and talk to NPCs around a small town, kind of like how Fellowship did, where like in Fellowship, you don't just queue up for a game, you actually go into a town, run around, talk to all the NPCs, and then queue up for a game, right? I love that. I love that, like in WoW, you talk to an auctioneer. It's not just a login queue screen. Anyway, maybe that's just a WoW player take, but when there's new games coming out, say like Dark and Darker, like an extraction, like a fantasy extractor or something, I would much rather log in to a town and go to a blacksmith person than just sit in a login screen where I'm just doing it all through a login screen and then queue. I love the town concept, right? I love it. Yeah, PoE 2 I guess has that. All right, you have like a town. It's not just like a login screen kind of a thing. Mistfall Hunter did that. I never played Mistfall Hunter. Maybe I should check it out if it still exists. A lot of those seem to be going out of business. But yeah, I like the lobby being an actual town. I love it, man. It might just be a WoW player thing though, because we're used to actually having a world versus just like a screen to click things, right?
Even in retail, which I'm trying to give another shot because retail players keep telling me this version of the game gets really good eventually. Even in retail, where you do have a solo queue option to play PvP arenas, battlegrounds, and run dungeons through the Dungeon Finder, when you queue for something, you are still waiting for the queue to pop in the world. World of Warcraft is a game where even if you're just waiting around for something to happen, waiting still happens in the world among.
That's why WoW, like, that's why I fell in love with this game. You could be AFK in a city for hours and hours and hours just sitting there, but it's a community. It's this community feel. You're waiting with other people that are also waiting for their raid or for their dungeon or looking for an enchanter or just browsing the auction house or just literally AFK but logged in. Like, press 1 in the chat if there's like a majority of your slash played in WoW that you just are literally just like, you get home from school, you log in, get home from work, you log in, and you're not even playing, but you're logging in because it's just like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll just jump around and run in circles and do nothing, but like, I'm just gonna log in anyway, right? Like, I have so many hours that way. A lot of ones, there's a lot of people saying no too, but like, dude, that was totally me for. I stopped doing that at some point, but I'd say for at least for like 15 years of playing WoW, maybe a little less, like 14, like 6 years ago, I think I stopped. But I would literally just wake up and log in, even if I wasn't going to do anything. Maybe I was just really addicted, I don't know. And I would just stay logged in all day. Like, if I had to go to class, obviously I would log out like when I was in college, and then I'd come back and I would log in. It doesn't matter if I was going to do anything. I would just log in, turn my computer and log in and AFK and like do my homework. I would always be logged in, bro. You know, like I would always be logged in. Maybe I was just overly addicted. I don't know.
The community. And there is something about this that is so much nicer than sifting through menus. Like, at the risk of being a bit cringe, this whole experience of having third places to get lost in around others, this is one of the best reminders to me that life isn't about efficiency. Human beings aren't meant to just shuttle themselves from home to work, back and forth, over and over, only ever using time off the clock to recharge and prepare yourself so you'll be a better task doer at your job tomorrow. That's not the point of life. Life is about literally touching grass. It's about those moments in between tasks where you take the time to do something like go out and walk your dog on a cool autumn day. Moments where you decide to inefficiently waste an afternoon by going fishing with a family member or friend, letting your conversations and minds wander, daydreaming about whatever you'd like. Those moments in between the hustle and bustle of life are surprisingly essential to not losing your mind in the world. Like, why did you think I had a whole year-plus arc on my channel where I went out and filmed a million League of Legends vlogs out at my local parks? You think I did that for fun? I can assure you, lugging all of my camera gear out to the middle of nowhere just to have people stop and stare at me while I ranted about League esports for hours, that was not exactly fun. I did that because the simple act of being out in nature, slowly walking along a hiking trail, even if it's just for a short moment between two takes, that was enough to make me feel a kind of peace and joy I've never found anywhere else. The more you can sprinkle these third places into your daily life, the more fulfilling life can truly feel. And what I'm describing here is basically all of World of Warcraft. What is Azeroth but a...
Dude, I had a feeling like this the other day. So it's really nice out where I live. I live in Tucson, Arizona. A lot of the winter, it gets dark really early because it's winter. So you just can't really, like, I have a 2-year-old, so like I can't really go outside when it's dark because it's like, you can't really play. And in the summer, it's way too hot. But anyway, we get like a few weeks right now where the weather is just really nice. Anyway, we've been going to the park a lot, and he's been seeing a lot of his same friends at the park. And it was this really cool feeling. Some of the little like boys and girls there were like, "Hey Kai, hey Kai!" Like they were yelling out his name and like running up to play with him. And I don't know why it was such a cool feeling. It was the first time another kid has yelled my son's name and like wanted to go and play with him. It was just this really cool thing. I was like, wow, that was like the coolest moment. And it kind of felt like that, right? Like going outside and touching grass. And one of the things that I've talked about before is when I was back in college, I would, yeah, and the little girl was like, Kai is my friend. You know, it was just it was a really cool moment. It was like the first time it's happened. Anyway, when I was back in college, one of the things that I didn't realize at the time, and I've told the story a couple of times, but I find it it's like a valuable story, is I didn't have a car for my first 2 or 3 years in college. I think 2 years in college, which means I walked everywhere and I rode my bike everywhere. And at the time I found it probably kind of annoying because I had to walk to get my groceries, and or I'd ride my bike to get my groceries, and I would like carry my eggs on the bike handles and try to not break them on the way home. I just didn't have a car, and it was really annoying. And then I ended up getting a car, and I didn't notice anything right away, but like a couple months in, I was like, something's missing. And I was like, oh, what's missing is a little bit of downtime, a little bit of pacing, a little bit of slow walking to let my thoughts and emotions kind of circulate in my brain. A 20-minute walk is incredibly healthy. A 20-minute walk from south end of campus to north end of campus gave me time to chill out for a second without being overstimmed, right? And I was like, holy crap, walking is so darn good on the brain. So now I have like a 30-minute walk daily in my routine, or maybe 20, 30 most days. And it's just so darn healthy. It's so good on the brain. And that's kind of what Shibe's talking about here too. And then, people that don't have cars, you might not even know this. It's probably one of your favorite parts of your day and you don't even know it, right? Like a lot of people in Europe or something, they walk around, like you guys have it figured out, man. Like it's amazing. Obviously in the US, a lot of cities you need a car, but you can still implement the walk. Anyway, man, Shibe, spot on here, bro.
Big park with hiking trails that lead you from one activity to the next, but where you're always free to take the time to stop and enjoy the beautiful scenery. This whole universe is just a huge shared third place where you can always let your mind wander, noticing other players' cool armor or mounts, imagining what else you might want to do next in game. You're never stuck, locked into the two-pronged cycle of a job. Even when you're doing a queue-based activity, you're never taken out of the world when waiting around. You are always free to inefficiently waste your time by getting distracted from other players' activities or just taking the time to appreciate the gorgeous landscape. It's a breath of fresh air in every sense of the phrase compared to the queuing system that I have been so used to in League of Legends and so many other games. And I'm not saying that League of Legends would be better if we had a gigantic empty room that every player had to jump around in while waiting for a match in solo queue. It's not just the space that's important, but I do think that having a third option where you can take a break from the work and recovery, I think that is important. And frankly, I think that might be why League players keep inventing new game modes in custom games, from all random all mid lobbies on Summoner's Rift to hide and seek on Dominion back in the day. When you are stuck experiencing the cycle of monotony and depression found in the job of solo queue, I don't know, I think that's the big reason why we get so miserable when playing queue-based multiplayer games. I don't believe that Blizzard intentionally were considering this kind of third place idea when designing their systems for WoW. I kind of think a lot of what I'm talking about here probably just comes about as an accident when you make something as social as an MMO. But I do think that's the reason that WoW has hooked me so hard to a point that I don't think I could quit this game if I wanted to, and it's probably why so many other League players keep feeling the gravity.
Bro, on the last Tyler 1 clip, I moved my camera from here to here so I wouldn't cover him, and then he moves his camera from there to here. Brother, stop moving.
Gravitational pull of this game, because like League of Legends, this is a really fun keyboard game with all the quick action and depth of strategy you would expect from a great game in this genre. But unlike other keyboard games, WoW can also be the ultimate third place, where if you ever get overwhelmed by all the tasks you're given or the complexity found in game, you're always free to take a breath and stop to smell the proverbial roses.
Darn good,
Maybe
man.
What I'm saying with this whole video is just, Riot, please actually finish your MMO. Make your MMO and then let me queue up for league matches through the MMO so I can earn mounts and armor and titles for my character in the MMO through the league grind. I mean, that would be the dream. Or just, it would also be really cool if you actually finished making that MMO and released it in my lifetime. But until that's done, I'm really glad that I started playing World of Warcraft. And I'm excited to keep making more videos on this super fun game. My next video will likely be the next episode of my classic WoW 1 to 60 playthrough. You guys all enjoyed the first video on classic so much after all that I gotta turn it into a real series. Subscribe if you would like to be notified when that goes live, or you could go back and watch my first steps in classic if you missed it. It's probably linked somewhere on screen right now. But either way, until whenever I see you all next, thank you very much for watching this video. Good luck in solo queue, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Bro, he's continuing classic. Let's go. All right, I'll be looking forward to that next one. Great video. Man, like I said, man, G-Bay fan here. I really liked the touch and grass bit. That's what we're all about around here, man. Touch grass for a little bit. So darn nice. G-Bay, W, there it is. I'm glad we watched this one today. I was gonna maybe not watch it until tomorrow. The League to WoW pipeline. We'll be looking forward to that classic WoW video coming up.